Hello, today is a very special day. I am gonna read my favorite poem. It is true, there is about 7 poems that fit that description, um, but this one is a very special one and I wanted to read it. Those of you who know my philosophical vein might understand why this poem is so important for me. There is enough metaphysics in not thinking about anything by Fernando Pessoa. And I say Fernando Pessoa, but really I should be saying Alberto Caeiro, because Pessoa wrote with heteronymus most of the time, and heteronymus is when someone writes under a different name and publishes on that name. The reason why Pessoa did this was not for any publishing advantages or anything like that. It was just because he did an exercise of embodiment of different people that he would imagine, and in the best of his nights, in the best of his weeks, in his best month, he became Alberto Caeiro and wrote the Keeper of Hearts, I think it's called. I'm translating on my head, I haven't read Pessoa in English, I'm only doing this for you. But yeah, when he finished that moment of deep inspiration and finished that collection of poems, he said, "I have just given birth to my teacher." And then from then on, he just referred to Alberto Caeiro as his teacher. And for me, on that collection, this poem is my favorite one, by far. Yeah, it is my favorite poem by far. It's my favorite poem from Pessoa, it's my favorite poem from Portuguese poetry, and is one of my favorite poems ever made, ever written. There is a lot that is lost in translation, but not the meaning, which is the most important thing when it comes to Pessoa, because his poetry, his verse is very austere. He was not about a style, he was about what he had to say. And obviously when I say that is my favorite poem, I mean in Portuguese. This poem is my favorite in Portuguese. But again, you will not be losing much. I haven't searched for any specific translation, I just Google and use the first PDF I found. If I see something as I go reading that doesn't fit, I'll just change it, because I know the poem on my head, so I can do that. But as I said, it's not gonna be a problem. So without further ado, I'm just gonna read the poem, and that's gonna be the video for today. There is enough metaphysics in not thinking about anything. What do I think of the world? I have no idea what I think of the world. If I get sick, I'll think about that stuff. What idea do I have about things? What opinion do I have about cause and effect? What have I meditated on God and the soul? And on the creation of the world? I don't know. For me, thinking about that stuff is shutting my eyes. I'm not thinking. It is closing the curtains of my house that has no curtains. The mystery of things. I have no idea what the mystery is. The only mystery is that there is someone who thinks about the mystery. When you are in the sun and shut your eyes, you start not knowing what the sun is. And you think about a lot of things full of heat. But then you open your eyes and look at the sun, and you can't think about anything anymore. Because the sun's light is worth more than the thoughts of all the philosophers and the poets. Sunlight doesn't know what it's doing, and it's never wrong, and it's common and good. Metaphysics? What metaphysics do have those trees? That of being green and bushy and having branches? And of giving fruit in their own time, which doesn't make us think. To us, who don't know how to pay attention to them. But what better metaphysics than theirs, which is not knowing what they live for, not even knowing that they don't know. Inner constitution of things, inner meaning of the universe. All that stuff is false. All that stuff means nothing. It's incredible that someone could think about things that way. It's like thinking of reasons and purposes. When morning starts shining, and by the trees over there a vague lustrous gold is driving the darkness away, thinking about the inner meaning of things is doing too much. Like thinking about health when you're healthy, or bringing a cup to a spring. The only inner meaning of things is that they have no inner meaning at all. I don't believe in God because I never saw him. If he wanted me to believe in him, I have no doubt he'd come and talk to me, and come to my door, telling me, here I am. Maybe this is ridiculous to the ears of those who, because they don't know what looking at things is, they don't understand someone who talks about them with a way of speaking that looking at them teaches. But if God is the flowers and the trees and the hills and the sun and the moonlight, then I believe in him. Then I believe in him all the time, and my whole life is an oration and a mass, and a communion with my ears and through my ears. But if God is the trees and the flowers and the hills and the moonlight and the sun, why should I call him God? I call him flowers and trees and hills and sun and moonlight, because if he made himself for me to see him as the sun and moonlight and flowers and trees and hills, if he appears to me as trees and hills and moonlight and sun and flowers, it's because he wants me to know him as trees and hills and flowers and moonlight and sun. And that's why I obey him. What more do I know of God that God knows about himself? I obey him by living spontaneously, like someone opening his eyes and seeing. And I call him moonlight and sun and flowers and trees and hills. And I love him without thinking about him. And I thank him by seeing and hearing. And I am with him all the time. So that is my favorite poem. Yeah, I mean, I've shed tears reading this poem. It's just very special. I'm sure that even with my shit pronunciation, it will have come across, and I highly recommend that you just take this poem, like search it, or I'll try to find a link to it. Otherwise, just search, you'll find it, and read it out loud. And then read it out loud again, and read it out loud so much that you don't need to look at the page anymore, and you can be looking at the trees and hills and moonlight and sunshine while you read, when you say that poem. So yeah, that's the poem for today, and I have nothing else to say. I hope you have enjoyed it.